Hello, welcome. I shot 2 rolls this week. A roll of FP4 and a roll of Eastman Kodak 5222. Nothing unique there, but I did try a new developer. It's called FX-2K. So I can show that. Well, first I'll say that this is the guy who came up with the recipe, Jeffrey Crawley. He was the editor of the British Journal of Photography between 1967 and 1987. This was the youngest, the youngest photo, youngest picture of him I could find. It is interesting. I read about him a lot, and he gets a lot of credit for many different developer recipes, and many you can still buy. But there's really not a lot about him online, especially not many photos. But thank you, Jeffrey. So FX2, right? A lot of people have heard of FX1. It is a high acutance developer. I think FX2 came later. A little bit of like, hey, high acutance is great, but what about we try to keep some mid-tone gradation and maybe at the expense of a little acutance? So-called making it more pictorial, more general purpose. So I got interested in trying this FX2, and it also had read in Steve Angel's book, that in Troop's book, they said that this works really well with FP4. So I used a discount code on Freestyle Photo. Got me some FP4. Ordered FX2 from B&H, and I tried to make this late at night after my bedtime. Had maybe had a couple drinks, and I goofed it. You're supposed to make a part A and a part B, and I just made one part, which gave it a lifetime of about a few hours. So I goofed it. And so I was like, well, maybe instead of just reordering it, maybe I'll just get the chemicals I'll need, and I can, instead of making a part A and a part B, I'll just mix just the chemicals I need, make them fresh. So I got some Metol, some sodium sulfite, some glycin, and then I didn't get potassium carbonate because also Bill Troop and Steve Angel said that the potassium carbonate can be swapped out for Kodak, making it even less acutance and more general purpose, more mid-tone gradation, more general use. And I think their word for it was, extremely, what did they say? Versatile. So that was interesting. So here's glycin. Metol's pretty relatively easy to get. Glycin doesn't keep as well. It's harder to find. Anytime you can't find something at Freestyle, you're in the weeds. And so I couldn't find this at Freestyle and had to order it from B&H. And they've got little small samples, but they won't ship this to Oregon for me. So the only one I could get shipped was this 100 grams, which will last me a while. But I guess it doesn't stay good for more than a couple of years. The other chemicals last a lot longer. Here's Kodak. Pretty cheap. Okay, so Yeah, so I'm back to this. This recipe here uh, is for a stock solution, right? And so I mixed it as a working solution. So we're talking about tiny amounts in a liter. Um, and then this pinacryptol yellow, right? That is the restrainer antifoggant, and I don't really know that it's necessary. We're talking about film. I'm going to scan modern film, so it's possible that that's optional, but I didn't want to risk it, so I went ahead and I added it. Okay, so what did I expect out of this? I expected it to be a sharp, high acutance developer, but still pretty good mid-tone gradation. I really expected it to work with FP4, and then there's the general recommendation I've seen is that this is maybe not as good with faster films. Kind of 200's a little bit of a cutoff, so I'm using Kodak Eastman 5222, which is sort of a 200 film. So we'll see how that we'll see how it did. Okay, so starting with this image, the first set here is going to be the FP4. I'm probably going to say HP4 at some time. I can't keep those straight. HP5, FP4, whatever, 4 and 5. So this is 125 speed film, but apparently in this developer you can shoot it box speeds more like a 200. So that's how I rated everything. Okay, so the lens here is a Voigtlander Heliar 50 millimeter, and I chose it just because it's wicked sharp, especially stop down. Tested against my the Leica 50 Apo this week, and yeah, the Apo is sharper, more wide open, 3.5, 4, but as you start to get to 5.6 and f8, who knows? I think the Heliar might be sharper, but they're both stupid sharp. Okay, so what I like about this is the acutance is really showing up. So if you maybe don't know what acutance is, right? It's these high contrast boundaries where there's really nice definition. You're going to get sort of two things. Well, one phenomenon, whatever. But on the highlight side, you're going to get extra developments. You get it's going to be even brighter. And then on the shadow side, this is all really dark. So you can't quite tell, but it's going to be the darkest part. It's actually going to be right against the brightest part. So you get at this type of boundary, you're going to get really nice, crisp contrast, and it gives things a little bit of a visual snap. And it's not happening at kind of lower frequencies or places where it's fine detail, right? There's sort of a sweet spot where acutance really shows up. And this is an image where it's doing me some favors. And I also like, we got the midtones are looking very nice. Yeah, and I also just like the image. I think it's gotten good kind of balance and flow. And I'm trying to think about like what type of photos am I interested in, trying to make. I think this one fits a nice category of like it's Pacific Northwest. It's naturey, it's local, but it's maybe not kind of the super common shot. It fits with black and white photography, the silver arts, so to speak. But nothing too crazy. So yeah, I like that one. In this whatever series I'm making here, I do like to just share some pictures, and it's pretty off the cuff, right? I'm letting myself just kind of react honestly and naturally to my photos. This is totally just like I like that the sign said welcome, and then this guy I guess Eldon Fix is pointing at this big dumpster. So not much of a photo, more just me having a little fun. All right, so I do like to carry filters. This is I popped on a red filter. I bought a bunch of Leica filters, 39 millimeter, sort of have the full rainbow. And I like having lenses where I can use those filters either with step up or step down rings. So all these are right. All of the FP4 photos are shot with the Heliar, which I think is only a 27 millimeter filter size, but I've got step up rings to get it to 39. And I popped on the red because red brick and also some green foliage really makes the contrast here pop. And I totally got to agree with like the film. Right, this is 100% zoom on a 24 megapixel scan. Right, plenty of detail, plenty sharp. And I like finding good filter shots, and this one, I like this one. All right, this is just like an old glass door, and I'm shooting the reflection. Kind of liked, these are trees. I'm kind of shooting up, so these are the clouds. Maybe wanted these high tones not to just kind of wash out this much. There wasn't really anything in the sky, so what was there supposed to be? I don't know. Maybe a little more cloud definition, but it's kind of a nice little test of grain, right? Here I am at 100%, and we can just kind of go around and see how the grain looks. Very fine, sharp grain. It's not really pronounced anywhere. It's kind of mid-grays. I'm still trying to figure out like where's grain, right? It's like where's grain most obvious, right? It's usually like anywhere where a lot of these emulsions, right, have these so-called conventional emulsions have many different sizes of grains. And you're using the bigger ones where there's really not much light coming in, kind of your deep shadows. And so you can, right, that's going to cause big grain. But you can also get big grain kind of in the smaller grains, just through extra exposure and extra development at some point can start to make grain clumping even with the smaller grains. And we'll see that in some other photos. I liked how the bench was kind of popping here, and I sort of like this plant. I think it gets lost. It's got an interesting shape. I got another picture of that. I don't know, a bit of a B-side or C-side photo. This is one where I'm really with kind of editing. I'm keeping the full dynamic range, so to speak. I'm keeping some shadow detail, and I'm leaving all the highlights and just kind of showing that there's a lot of latitude, and getting a lot of kind of definition and detail. And all right, here's that plant again. I came around the other side. I do like this photo. I like the texture in this plant here, and then I like this kind of ridiculous plant, the way it's growing, the way there's I got the background to kind of drop out, so this plant really pops. I don't know, overall the composition's not strong enough, but at the same time there's some things I like. So, here I just like the way these shadows are creeping out into the yard. Couple things in the background here that had some interesting mid-tones, but not a lot to love. I'll try not to bang my key so hard. I like this guy was taking a picture of his dog. So I took a picture of him. This is on Lewis and Clark College campus, a really pretty campus. This is their like admissions building, I think. Going into 100%, right? 100% looks good. You know, back to like acutance. I mean, nothing here is like super jumping out to me. That first example was clearly a lot of acutance happening. All right, this one has incredible amount of detail, right? This is 100%, and you can see that my cousin is shooting an M7, and that is so clear. I mean, I could go in past 100%, but whatever. This gradation through the pool of water looks really nice. Yeah, this is my shadow. Kind of a little bit of a, me and my cousin were on a little photo walk. Oh man, this shot, I spent probably 3 minutes trying to find this composition. Don't love it, but I don't know, it's kind of growing on me. The sunlight was the clouds were changing a lot, and this was kind of an interesting plant. I don't know, it just took me forever. But I wanted these leaves to be more the 18% gray. That's where I metered. Right, kind of let these pop. And this thing, I maybe could have done a little bit better job of making this thing pop against the background. It gets lost a little bit. But in terms of like film and the developer, again, I'm pretty darn impressed. Okay, here, like, look at the, right, this is 100%. Right, this grain here in the highlights, that's a sexy grain. It is small, it is nice. FP4 is some high-tech, well, let's keep it family friendly here, really high-tech film. Okay, my cat Lewis, he rolled around in the dirt. He's a black cat, but he was really dirty. Right, he has kind of this weird outline to him, but that's just like a ton of dirt on him. I love this maple tree in my yard, so I was trying to get him in the maple. Now the downside of the Heliar is it only does 3.5, so I don't get the out of focus background isn't that out of focus, but I think this looks good. I like the expression here. He's a little small, but I got the little more of the maple, and so now my kids are in the honeysuckle tree. I wish I could see their faces a little more, but it's showing that they're in the honeysuckle, and kind of the detail and the tones look really nice. And here they are, expressing a little personality. And I told them, go stand by in the bushes, and they they took me literally. Sometimes with like, if this was maybe a 400 speed film, some of this grain in the face could start to look, especially if it was a little underexposed, right? This grain can start to look gnarly. But here that looks plenty good. And this is maybe my favorite of the bunch. Definitely a top 2 in this on this roll. I just really like, I don't want to say Jackson Pollock, but it's like pulls you kind of equally in all directions, and there's a little bit of chaos, but also order, and loving the tones, love like kind of the glowiness of some of the blades. Yeah. Oh, see, this is 200%. Last shot in the roll. Another like these little interesting plants that we get. I think it's called like lamb's ear or something that grows here in Oregon. Yeah, kind of just had one more shot on my roll and was looking for just an easy shot on my way back into the house, really. But it's a pretty plant. I'll probably take more of that plant and hopefully get a better one. All right, so the short conclusion on FP4 and this developer is really impressive, and I definitely want to keep trying it, which is good because I bought a 100-foot roll. And then, Glycin is supposed to be the best for stand development. This is supposed to be one of the best, maybe the best developer for stand development. So I'll probably try that next with FP4. Right, just a little bit about, let's hold off before we go to the Kodak XX. Right, Metol is like relatively slow developer, a little lower contrast, but it's got good keeping properties. And then Glycin is very low fog, not a really fast developer either, but Metol and Glycin together, there's some super additivity where you can develop rolls in very easily under 20 minutes, like kind of probably 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so now let's go into Kodak Eastman 5222, right, also known as Double X or BW Double X, or as I like to call it, Double Goat. It's one of my favorite films, but it is a 200 speed. I think I shot this. These were rated at 400. Okay, so looks good, but you can see the grain is showing up a little more. Okay. Yeah, I'm just walking down my street, and I liked how this tree was hanging over this MR2. It's like this is 100%, right? The detail. I mean, this looks like 5222. It looks good here, right? I think as long as there's not places where the grain is going nuts, but even like it kind of just depends on what type of grain you're looking for. Let's keep looking. Right here, man, this just looks good. This looks good. I can't find a fault with it. Trying to remember if I had a green filter on for this shot. I can't remember. I think I did. All right, this is sort of wanting to get a shot like that very first one I showed, but I do have a green filter on, and the one thing to complain to Leica for a second, I wish they gave more information about their meter sensitivity. They say it's the like MP's meter has a filter, makes it similar to human vision, but I don't know. I need to know more than that because I'm using a heavy green filter, and I do find that I'm underexposing. This kind of got underexposed a little bit, but we can see the acutance popping, and I don't know. I mean, it is a nice image. I guess I wish that there was a little more fine detail in the flower. Is maybe what I wish. I'll take it. I'll take it. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This is a bit of a. I might just need to go back and re-edit this, rescan it. I might be able to get a different take if I maybe try to prioritize the flower a little more. And then as I kind of always have to say, like with 5222, it's not, even though it's a sharp film and it is relatively fine grain, it doesn't resolve super fine detail very well, sort of on purpose, right? So we're not getting the detail right there. I also don't know there's also like with a green filter on, my shutter may have been a little slower, and I might be losing some just to a little bit of hand movement. This is complex stuff we're doing. Yeah, kind of liked. I was looking at a book this week. Oh, am I gonna remember the photographer? Nilo. I think her name's Nilo, and a lot of her images are kind of high key, lots of white. So I kind of had that in my mind on this roll shot. I tend to use a lot of dark gray and black, and I kind of wanted to have some brighter images. Same thing here, which I'm like indoors and using. So this whole set with the 5222, I'm shooting with 75 millimeter Voigtlander Heliar 2.5. Which, as far as I can tell, is just an incredible lens for the money. I love shooting it this week. So, yeah, here, like, let's look at some of the grain here. So that's 100%. I mean, that looks good. I like this kind of, right? I like the way that the grain gives kind of some shape and contour to these things here, right? It's like the grain here is different than the grain here, it's different than the grain in there, and that helps give dimensionality. But I will tell you that when you share these things with people who are looking at this stuff on smartphones, when you have large grain or really sharp grain, the smartphones can way over sharpen, and it looks like a cheese grater until you like zoom way in. So I did find with especially with these 5222 shots, my phone did not like them at all. Right, it's different than if I had developed this in like Xtol. All right, this one, I like this shot because I like that open doorway, the shadow, but I also really like the way that this, it looks like this building is curved. Is it curved? It looks curved, but I don't know that it is. I think it's just the way that, this has got to be curved. I'm gonna have to go back and look at this. It's playing tricks on me. It's got to be curved. Look at the bricks. Or is it? Right? Okay. I liked this shot because I like the way these hard shadows were coming across here. I didn't spend a lot of time editing this one because I don't super love it. maybe I should. There's something nice about it, but let's see. Like, what I'm kind of up against a little bit with 5222 is like, it doesn't have a anti-halation layer. It is a tinted film. It's kind of thick, which kind of functions as a anti-halation. But I kind of wonder, like right here, like I'm not getting a super well-defined edge. Is halation playing a role? Probably not. Now let's come look up here at the grain. I like that kind of grain, right? I sort of have an eye from like the 60s era. Yeah. Okay. So I like this dappled light, and I also sort of like that it looks almost like the water's on. Really, that's just kind of like some dappled sunlight hitting the brick. Right. Yeah, this is just I kind of like the way the shadow is coming across this. I cropped it a little bit, just trying to draw more attention to the shadow. I like the grays, right? I like the midtones. All right, this one checks a lot of boxes for me. I don't think many people are gonna love this, but I do. I love that this was about the shadow, right? There's this chair with some interesting swirls, and the chair kind of made the photo, and it has some like these. I love kind of the hard contrast and these little texture. I think it's the shadow of the table, and then these grays of the ground, and the pattern, and just the overall kind of geometry of it. Ticks a lot of boxes for me personally. And I try to keep an eye out for shadows, right? So it's always fun to find a good one. Yeah, again, I kind of like this chance to go with a lighter photo. I'm using the 2.5 to kind of have some little bokeh balls in this opening of an old door. There's the old door. Oh. All right, we got trans rights on a tree, some student art. This is at 2.5. So kind of testing the out of focus, right? Out of focus film, right, is different than out of focus digital, right? These kind of areas where there's this kind of plant in the background gets a little additional out of focus softness because there's just not enough definition and edges for the film to kind of make a sharp, any kind of sharp lines. This would look kind of a little bit more definition on a digital camera. And then you can see this is where some grain is really starting to show up. These places where the coarser grains are doing most of the work. Some kind of continuous tones. You get some clumping there. All right, this was some found art. I like to go kind of where the artists on campus kind of dump stuff that's headed to the trash, kind of end of semester. And so this is a picture of somebody's artwork. And again, this is one that I'm like, I don't think other people like this, but I sure do. So it's like planetary geometry, and I like these tones here and the shapes, and then back here, right, this is just all out of focus stuff, but I really like kind of all the different textures and the way the grain is working. Yeah, and it's sharp, sharp grain. The developer doesn't have really much if any solvent action. Okay, again, this is just kind of, I don't even know if this was like an art project. This is probably something that maybe they're using in an art studio, and it's just was trash and was waiting to get picked up. Right, but I just see it as like shapes and tones, and I do think, I kind of wonder if I didn't use, maybe should have made a faster shutter. I think I lost a little bit of sharpness on my shutter speed. But yeah. I think I'm also using, right, not only am I using 75 millimeter and needing a little bit of extra shutter speed, but I'm using a green filter on a lot of these. This has a green filter, because that's you'll notice that some of these things that are dark are actually just red. The Diablo, where the kids the little furnace they use. This is at 0.7 meters, and this is like their art table for outdoors where they work. And I just kind of like some of the texture in the table, and it's, I don't know, kind of has a, I don't know, I like it abstractly. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe not a keeper. Sort of like, sometimes I like these flowers that are like really not the epitome of beautiful flower, right? Kind of. Yeah, so in that way I kind of like this shot. And I think I'm using my green filter. All right, this is looking up into some Japanese maple trees. I'm also getting a little bit of flare on the lens. So I kind of enjoyed the way all these limbs were kind of crazy and all over the place. And even enjoyed sort of this like patch of flare that hit the lens. Again, you can see, the grain is really more apparent than with FP4. Here's me looking for shadows. This wood there's also some interesting pattern to, there's some finer shadows that are coming across this. Now, I like this one because, again, I'm thinking whites, right? This was like a, I should have remembered her name. I might try to, I hate Googling live because who knows what I'll find, but I think her name is Nilo. Maybe I'll get that right for my next video, right? But I wanted to go mostly light tones. And I just happened upon these coffee cups in a cafe by some window light. And what my wife pointed out, which is I think also a cool addition, is there's a dog back here. My wife could tell. She's like, look at the dog. So I think that's kind of cool. The grain is there. I think I like that. I think that's, it'd be interesting to see yeah. I'm going to say I like it. It'd be interesting to see that same shot with FP4. All right, here I just caught this, like, somebody had made this unique, like, it's not really a wind chime, but kind of. And I just caught the sunlight hitting the front spoon. So, all right, the last picture. If I had had more film, I would have tried to get a couple of these. I like these two women that were they're at a diner having breakfast, and they're both visually interesting people. And then you got all these license plates and in the foreground and in the background, and I sort of had mixed feelings about her hand gesture there, because she had her sunglasses were really cool, but I kind of, it hit me that like I really do like the strong graphic nature of her finger posture, because really what this room is about is like all this like really strong graphic numbers and letters and signs, and so in that way it fit the picture. And then you got that got across from her is this kind of crazy hair, and then the film grain is not hiding. There's a lot of like really contrasty, well-defined lines here. And then, it's also interesting to like what happens to out of focus areas that we're not getting a lot of detail and contrast, like this whole section, right? It's like, the grain's really, really showing up there. And that is some sharp grain. So definitely, part of the visual experience. Was sort of sad to run out of film at this moment, but I also don't want to be like, weird creepo. So probably good that I just took one picture. All right, that's what I've got to share. I think when I started the video, I was like, whoa, I'm really impressed with FP4. I definitely want to try that again and do a stand, and I'm really excited about this, like the investment in these chemicals, and I think it'll be fun I like mixing fresh, like just enough for what I'm going to use that moment. I'm kind of, I'm having to measure very carefully, and that adds some time and some steps, but like, it's fun, and getting consistent results. I don't have to worry about developer expiring or needing to be replenished. The only thing I have to kind of keep an eye on is just like not mixing my chemicals and making sure my glycin stays fresh. In 2 years or something, I'll need to order some more. Definitely going to try stand development with it, see what happens. And then, in terms of double X, like, I think I have a ton of double X. So I'm definitely going to be trying it again. I think I like it. I think, trying to find kind of the places where I really liked it. Back here of like, I really like the kind of the way the grain comes into this. So, yeah. I don't know that I love the grain on this type of thing. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to put a little more attention on kind of thinking about how I can use the grain wisely. All right. See you next time.